Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Now, it's a very easy and perhaps also very cheap thing to do to simply just mock the intelligence of flat earthers. So in today's video, that is exactly what we are going to do. After all, they do say things like this.
Mass is identical to weight, but this weight is space weight.
Now, I know what you're thinking, and yes, that is the best opening 20 seconds to a YouTube video you will watch today, but this ability of flat earthers to say the most ridiculous, stupid things isn't as funny as you might think. You see, because flat earthers say such stupid things, they are often accused by other flat earthers who just say slightly different stupid things of being paid shills brought in by the military to discredit flat earth. And one person who's very often on the end of allegations like this is perhaps the best known flat earther on the planet, Mark Sargent. Now, I recently watched a Mark Sargent stream, and after the migraine and the tears went away, it dawned on me just why Mark Sargent is often referred to as a shill. And it's because his show really is totally off the wall bonkers. For example, one of his semi-permanent co-hosts is literally a puppet.
You know what really sucks?
What?
When I go to move my hand and the only thing I got is a rod. It just goes like this.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
That's right, a real-world flat earth puppet who, despite lacking a physical brain of his own, does seem to possess the lion's share of the intelligence on this show. And I think that'll become more and more obvious as time goes on. Which brings me neatly to Mark Sargent's guest for today. It's our friend Joe Hanvey. Now, you might remember Joe Hanvey. He's been on the channel before. He's a person who had a bitter argument, a feud with the organizer of the final experiment, Will Duffy. And when it come time to leave, he rage quit in the most spectacular and unexpected way possible. That's right, he rage quit by forgetting how to hang up. It was quite awkward and funny.
But you're going to be exposed. I don't know when it's going to happen, but you're going to be exposed by the Father because you are falsely representing him and you're falsely representing his word. So we're done here. I'm out. Goodbye.
Thanks, Joe. Are you able to leave, or do I have to do something? But by the way, okay.
He got there in the end, didn't he? Now, lately, Joseph Hanvey has spent, or totally and utterly wasted, an incredible amount of time creating a range of flat earth models. Flat earth models which are designed to accurately represent observations that we make in the real world, specifically observations relating to the sun and the moon. And he's brought them to Mark Sargent's show today to show them off. And he's incredibly and unbelievably confident in them.
I can mimic the celestial objects and their movements quite well and give quite a bit of detail. Not only that, we can mimic ocean currents, we can mimic tides, we can mimic the lunar eclipse, we can mimic lunar phases, we can mimic the solar eclipse. I'm working on mimicking clouds and actual atmospheric movement while also doing the ocean currents. I want to try to do both at the same time.
Quite the list. And obviously, when he's telling the panel that he can mimic the sun and the moon and the tides, etc., what he actually means is he can't do any of those things at all in any way, shape or form, as we're about to find out in this car crash of a stream. Anyway, he begins by introducing his model to us.
So I call this the sun caustic lunar eclipse theory.
The sun caustic lunar eclipse theory, a theory which Joseph is very, very proud of, and he wants people to know it's all his work.
I don't know of anybody else offering this theory, but I'm calling it my theory. Unless somebody can prove that they came up with it before me, then I will concede that it's theirs.
Well, don't worry, Joseph. I think your intellectual property is safe because I've seen this stream, and by the time somebody has finished listening to you explain it, I am pretty much 100% confident that there is nobody in existence that will want to take credit for your theory. Yeah.
And so I took a picture of me creating a coffee cup caustic in this dome here.
Now, I am sorry for interrupting here, but for you to truly understand the brilliance and absolute hilarity of what Joseph is about to do, we do need a little bit of an explanation. I'll try and keep it brief. What you see on screen here right now is a coffee cup caustic. It's the name given to the phenomenon of shining light into a coffee cup or really any round object, and the way that light reflects will give you these patterns of intense light. He's shone a torch into his glass dome to create a caustic effect. And then he's presented us with this model. And around the outside, we can see the eclipses of the moon, the pictures of the moon being eclipsed. Now, has he created this model by getting little physical objects of the moon and placing it around his dome to show us physically how the eclipse could work on a flat Earth outside of a dome? Or has he literally just shone a light into a glass bowl and then photoshopped on pictures of the moon? Let's find out.
In this dome here.
Okay.
And then I superimpose that onto a black screen. Then I put the moon, the phases of the blood moon eclipse in there. And then I just screen recorded and went through each pic back to back to back and stopped it, and it gives this animation.
And there we have it, the sheer cheek of Joe Hanvey's flat Earth lunar eclipse model to shine a torch into a bowl and then just simply Photoshop some pictures of the moon during eclipse around it. It is fantastic. Now, listen, flat Earth won't do anything for your life, and neither will subscribing to my channel. Okay, it will do you no good whatsoever, but please subscribe to it anyway. There we go, I've asked. Hit that button, bang, pound it. Now, Mark Sargent and his team, they don't seem to realise how ridiculous Joe Hanvey's model is. I understand it and you understand it, but after listening to his model, they decide to celebrate by doing a little bit of a dance. And I'm not making any of this up. In fact, I've had to remove the music for copyright reasons. I've replaced it with my own, but you can see the dance in its full glory right now.
You're here for culture, Catz. He will be here soon for you. He is just in his neighbor's garden taking a big poo. If you lie about science and say the earth is flat, he will be here for you. The super cultured Catz.
No wonder people call Mark Sargent a flat earth shill. It is quite hilarious. Anyway, after the dance, they move on to a different model for the moon, which we'll get into in a second. But this involves some high-level contributions from our friend Randy the Puppet, who again is showing himself to be perhaps the most intelligent of the crew.
I don't believe it's infinite. I believe it's intimate. Intimate.
Yes, absolutely.
Not infinite. And if you gotta have say Polaris as the center, like the pole, like Polaris, then if you're in an electromagnetic realm and there's a toroidal field, well, it makes sense that there would be a positive and a negative working together inside the facility, and the positive would be the hot one, and the negative or the lesser light would be the moon.
Yep.
It's like what would happen if Sesame Street had a love child with A Nightmare on Elm Street. It is both very, very disturbing, but also extremely captivating at the same time. Now, Joseph Hanvey has shown us his first model, which involves basically pictures of the moon outside of a glass bowl. He's now going to discard that and show us a second model, which shows the moon now inside the dome, being lit up by a torch outside the dome, and now the moon is made of a transparent piece of glass. There's really no consistency between this and the last model, but that's not the point of this show. Obviously, let's just roll with it.
This is a live version in the model. I'm crossing the coffee cup caustic across the concave moon, and you see that exact same shadow phenomenon happening, so that when it lights up more red is the caustic zone passing through the moon, and when the light goes away and you see it dark, that will be when you're seeing the brightness of the moon, because the moon gives its own light.
Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yes, Joseph, yes, that is exactly what we observe when we look at a lunar eclipse. There's absolutely no difference whatsoever. And Joseph Hanvey is also thinking the same.
That is your coffee cup caustic, and it gives you exactly what you see with the lunar eclipse.
Yeah, it's uncanny, isn't it? I mean, looking at these two side by side, I can't even tell right now which one of these two is Joseph's model. They are that similar. Now, if Joseph Hanvey's models haven't done it for you so far, don't worry, there are more. If you're not convinced that the moon is just a picture that is placed outside of a dome for us to look at, or if you're not convinced that the moon is a very thin sheet of transparent material that's being lit up behind by a torch, then we have more options. Here we have Joseph being asked what he thinks the moon might be made of.
I mean, it is interesting. So what do you think the moon could be made out of? I liked that. I watched this video early and there's something about maybe translucent material. Any ideas of, I don't expect you to know, but
I think it's a projected focal point of light that could be some form of plasma within the superfluid ceiling above us. That would be my go-to.
So now it isn't a picture that exists outside of a dome, nor is it a transparent or translucent piece of material that is being lit up from behind. Now it's its own light source, a focal point of light that exists within a superfluid. Of course, all of those are at odds with each other, as is Joseph's next model, because who needs consistency? Now it is a concave piece of rock being lit up from the front by a torch.
This here is showing the moon phases and shadows. I just cut like a practice golf ball out. This was my first
It shows the inside of a golf ball, everybody, if you were ever wondering.
How did you know what an inside of a golf ball looked like?
I didn't. This is
No,
just a
not you,
practice.
DJ.
Oh, because I watched this video.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now, if we ignore the fact that all of Joseph's models are obviously crap, one might still be a little bit disconcerted by the contradictory nature of the models. They all seem to work in extremely different ways and don't gel with each other in any way, shape or form. And any mere mortal like myself might be a little bit concerned by that, but not Joseph. He seems to be galvanized. His confidence seems to be unbreakable. In fact, he thinks that the models that he is presenting are far better, I think, than anything that the globe has ever presented.
One thing about flat Earth is what I'm starting to tell people from the beginning, our model's better.
I don't know about better, Joseph. I'd certainly say more special. Now, Joseph doesn't stop there. He can also, just as a bonus, he can also model the tides for us. And to model the tides, the dome has to come off and the biblical electrodes need to be dipped in.
That shows ocean currents on the Earth, and we're modeling that. We're able to model it very precisely. And what were you
Yeah,
just
are we doing that with magnetism?
Yeah, it's magnetism and electrical charge and salt water.
Right.
It's uncanny, isn't it? I mean, it leaves no questions unanswered whatsoever. Neither does his model about Noah's flood, which of course, as with all of Joseph's models, completely contradicts every other model he has presented.
Now you can pull up this next one. This is Noah's flood happening. Same model. Now I'm planning on doing this with the larger model, the ocean currents, Noah's flood, tides, all that at some point. But you see when he opens the windows of heaven, the fountains of the deep come forth, and the water from above comes down. So the rains from above and the water from the fountains of the deep come up, flood the entire realm. He closes the windows back off and the water subsides. So we can demonstrate Noah's flood.
Now we could go on looking at more of Joseph's spectacularly rubbish and contradictory models, but we're not going to do that. We're now going to focus on the show itself. And like any show, it has lots and lots of reviews left for it. I left my own review for it in the toilet earlier on, and other people in the comment section have been leaving their reviews. So let's see what they think. Well, this user is leaving a negative review. She says she's getting tired of the puppet because this is a serious chat. And I couldn't agree more. Of course, if you get rid of the puppet, there will be nothing ridiculous about this show or Flat Earth whatsoever, would there? In fact, the puppet is the only thing making Flat Earth look ridiculous. In fact, unfortunately, given that Randy is the best part of the show, that wasn't the only comment that said he sucked. And Mark Sargent, he didn't seem happy about it. This comment seems to be completely meaningless. Maybe help me out with this one in the comment section. Sabe are near Earth wide but hardly ever seen. I'm sure that's meant to mean something. Dogman is even more elusive. Somebody said the moon is an ancient spacecraft. Well, thank you for those wise words of wisdom that you've mixed into an order that hides their wisdom. Now, underneath here, we have somebody correcting Philip Freeman. Hopefully, it will make a lot more sense out of the after the correction. And the correction is, yeah, elusive, not elusive. And now, if we reimagine that word as meaning elusive, the whole comment makes a whole bunch more sense. Let's take this one bit at a time and remind ourselves also that this comment has been edited, which means at the Truman Zoo has read this comment, found some mistakes, changed them, and then finally thought, yes, this is the version of the comment I'm going to go with. Joe, perhaps you need salt water inside the model to simulate layers of atmosphere, because we all know that there's no better simulation of the atmosphere than salt water. There is no difference between the atmosphere and water in any way, shape or form. What a fantastic idea. This salt water that's now simulating the atmosphere can reflect light back up, were to, who knows, thus invert it and flip it in the direction on the backside of the dome. Now, I did have my team of interpreters look at that to figure out what he meant. They told me to fuck off. Our atmosphere is or has a medium change. Doesn't get any better, does it? Which functions like a mirror-like flat light reflecting atmospheric mirror. Make of that what you will. So what have we learned in today's video? Well, we've learned that flat earth science and arts and craft can really narrow down the options that we have for the shape and nature of the earth. Now we know, thanks to Joe Hanvey, that the earth really could just exist inside a glass bowl with pictures of moons on the outside. Or maybe it could exist inside a glass dome with the moon inside the glass being made of a thin, transparent sheet of glass. Or maybe it could exist inside a dome, but the moon is a golf ball that's been carved out from the inside. Or maybe it won't have a dome and it will have biblical electrodes which drive the tides. But maybe it won't have that. Maybe it will be in a sphere which is hidden underneath the water that can flood sometimes. I think Joseph's done a great job in narrowing down our options, and of course they are all fantastic models. Well done, and a big nod to the world of arts and crafts. So well done. Now, whatever you believe, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Bye.